Welcome into another edition of On the Pulse. I am Derek Forrest, and of course, with the World Fitness Finals in Copenhagen, Denmark, coming up from December 18th to the 21st, it is now time to announce our workouts for the final competition of the 2025 season. Joining me, as always, the Director of Sport, Will Moorad. Will, how are you feeling as you put the final touches on the 2025 season?
Yeah, really excited. A lot of work has gone into this, and the team is busting their butt to make it happen. So I think pretty much everything's ready to rock. We just got to go there and watch the athletes put on a show. So yeah, excited.
Certainly hoping to see a show in Denmark in December. Now, we added an additional day to the competition compared to the first two season events. So, how does programming for the finals for you differ from the rest of the tour stops?
Yeah, we have an extra day, and we were going to introduce swimming. We were hoping to introduce it at least one of the tour events prior,
Mhm.
but just because of logistics and things like that, it didn't work out. So we're opening up the first day of competition at the swim hall in Sweden, which will be cool to see what the athletes can do there. And then we'll be back in Copenhagen for the remainder of the competition.
Yeah, so let's start right there and take a look at what the athletes are going to be dealing with in Copenhagen. As you mentioned, the first two workouts, we released them on our socials a couple of weeks ago. Pro 1A and Pro 1B are swimming workouts. Pro 1A is a 500-meter swim time trial inside of a pool, and it's a 10-minute time cap. Pro 1B, you added a ski and a bike to the mix. So you were very intentional about making sure athletes were aware that there was going to be a swim event by making it public before the other workouts. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about that there was going to be a swim all year, so the second that people wanted to start discussing what WFP was and what we were going to include as far as the workouts and events go, swimming was near the top of the list. And we got it put in the finals. There's two events, which is cool, but I think probably when I look at this swim event, the coolest part is the 500-meter time trial. It's going to be a pure test of swimmability, and I don't know that we've seen a time trial in a pool at this distance, at least in the space. So it'll be a good data point for the athletes. And then you have a more traditional mixed modal test with the ski, the swim, the bike, and then the ski again. So it should be pretty cool. It's definitely not an easy event, and I think the hope was for the second part that you can see a little bit more variation in who could be at the top of the leaderboard with that the amount of calories that will need to be completed outside of the pool.
Mhm.
So we'll see. I'm pretty excited for that.
Um, when you look at these two events, 200 points are up for grabs in this one. So you would assume that good swimmers should be able to grab points early on. But as you mentioned in 1B, you're throwing a little bit of a curveball. So do you think that'll kind of throw a little bit of mix into who comes out on top after these first two workouts?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the best swimmers will win the time trial, and on the back end, I think a power athlete could be able to hold on with a good swimmer. In part B, I think that the 125-meter swim is short enough where you can't necessarily gap somebody too much.
Mhm.
Um, Getting in and out of the pool. So the hope was there to just make it a more of a balanced test of land and water. And I think we did that, at least in testing, we did that. We did it with 175 meters and a little bit longer swim. And I think that was a little bit too biased towards a good swimmer. So I think we struck a good balance between these two.
So I saw Pro 1B and I was like, I think Will did something like this. And I was actually there at the games. You did a similar workout. What was your experience? And do you see a similar stimulus to this one as well?
Not so much. I think the workout at the games with the ski and the 50-meter swim was really about the ski erg and power output on the ski. The 50-meter swim really isn't enough at all to gap anybody in the field. Even the poor swimmers could kind of hold on there. So with this one, there's a significant enough amount of swimming where you kind of have to show some type of prowess in the water to succeed, but you can also catch up on the machines if you're just a monster there. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, 200 points available in Sweden Thursday morning, so it'll be cool to see.
One more on the pool in terms of distance for the pool. Do you have anything on that?
Yeah, so it's a 25-meter pool, so 20 down and back 20 times for 500, and then the 125 is just 5. So that's the distance. And then for the time trial, we're going to have everybody start on the blocks, which should be cool. Be something new and a new skill for these guys and girls to develop.
Yeah, I would say throwing that many transitions for the good swimmers is probably going to be a little bit of a separator for them.
Yeah, certainly.
All right. The final workout for day one, we get a little bit of gymnastics with 5 rounds of parallel handstand push-ups, toes to bar, and axle bar deadlifts. So we're going to start to see some midline work here early on in day one. So I was already starting to think, I'm sure there's going to be a compounding effect over time with the midline. Is this something that was on top of mind for you?
Yeah, definitely midline, and then a little bit of grip, depending on what your limiter is as an athlete. For me, it was holding onto the toe to bar as long as I could, and then making sure I maintained unbroken sets on the handstand push-ups and the deadlifts. For other athletes, it could be a midline limiter just because of the stability needed in all 3 of those movements. But I think it's a fun way to finish Thursday. They would have had a long day at the pool, a 30-minute window of training or of competing, and then a trip back to Copenhagen and to do something that's fun and more traditional. I think will ease maybe some of the stress of the travel and the hard morning. So I think it's a cool way to round it out.
When you look at the handstand push-ups, are you able to say what the deficit is on those parallettes right now?
Yeah. So full depth for the guys, and then we'll have a 2.5-inch riser for the girls.
Gotcha. All right. So day two, it's going to begin with Pro 3. It's our Project 1 workout and our first long endurance workout of the weekend. Now, the first half of it's done with a vest. The second half, you get to lose it. What was the thought process for adding this one? Traditionally, we see a long endurance workout with a singular focus, but obviously, we're throwing some other elements in this one.
Yeah, Project 1 is our hybrid initiative with World Fitness Project, and we've done activations all around the world with Project 1. We've been in Mexico, we've been all over the United States and all over Europe doing these. And I think the fitness community just at large likes a hybrid style event, a lower barrier to entry, and everybody can kind of play. So we thought letting our pros take a crack at it would be fun for everyone. And we'll be running it throughout the weekend as well. So you can compare scores with the pros and that type of stuff. But yeah, it's the longest event that we'll have this season, at least consistent with no part A or part B. So that's cool. I think you kind of let the best runners express what they can do. And I think from a goal standpoint for those guys and girls listening is you kind of got to get it right up to threshold effort and maintain it. And you'll get artificial heart rate spikes on the carries and the step overs, but as long as you can get out on the run and maintain that threshold pace without dipping too much over that, you should have a good event.
Is there anything the athletes need to know about the run? Like, will they be braving the cold weather of Denmark? Is that part of the test of fitness?
No, it'll be through the venue, kind of like other events have done it. Most recently, Rogue did it for one of their events, and it was really cool to be there for it. And our plan was to have them run through the venue as well. So that's the plan. There's actually a High Rocks at the same venue, so they've run through that venue already, which is cool. Not the same weekend, but they've run one there. Yeah, it'll be indoors. It'll be nice for the fans who are in the beer garden or wherever they are to be able to see the athletes run by.
All right. So to finish up day number 2, that's Pro 4, and we get a max lift event. You always have to have one of these. I feel like in competition in the finals, we get to see a 1-rep max snatch. Now we've seen snatching on your social media lately. Was this a clue? And how do you use your social media to give out hints if you do at all?
Yeah, we've been teasing this for a long time. And I think a lot of athletes were kind of already predicting this. Like at Mesa, a bunch of people were like, oh, max snatch is coming. And I was like, I don't know. But yeah, we've been teasing it. And as far as my social media, a lot of the stuff I post is a lot of the stuff that's going to be going on in the season. I'm not like outright announcing events or anything, but I'd say 90% of the stuff I post is something that will be included within the season.
No.
So,
Well, we'll make sure we're continuing to keep our eye on your
yeah.
Instagram for sure. Now, we all enjoy seeing a heavy lift. When we look at this one specifically, how many 200-pound snatches do you think we'll see on the women's side? How many 300-pound snatches do you think we'll see on the men's side? That's always a big thing that we're looking for as fans.
I think 5 to 10 on both. It's hard to say, everybody will get a good baseline for where the strength level is in the sport right now. With that window, you can kind of have a true max for people. But I think a safe bet would be 5 men at least, and then 5 women at least go over those marks. But actually, everybody competing at the finals is gonna complete a 1RM snatch. So it'll kind of be an ongoing competition for everybody competing in the competitive divisions and in the pro division, which will be fun to see. And then we'll have a cool prize for whoever hits the biggest lift out of all the divisions for the weekend. So it'll be just kind of a whole leaderboard of everybody competing at the finals and what their lifts are. So that'll be fun for everyone to kind of have one workout that they can all compete against each other in.
Now, the bigger question is, will you have a 300-pound snatch by the time we get to Copenhagen in December?
I don't know, man. I hurt my hip a couple years ago, and it started acting up again. Maybe I'm just old. I hit a 290 maybe a month ago, and then I just took my foot off the gas just to let my body heal, because I'm not a pro anymore. I don't need to keep the pedal down. But we'll see. I'm more excited to watch the guys and girls lift than for me to hit the 300 pounds.
Maybe you'll get your adrenaline going watching, and you'll hit it after the event. All right, so we've got a little bit of a lighter day on day 2. Is this intentional to set the athletes up and get them rested for the final 2 days?
Yeah, we did 3 scored events on Thursday. There'll be 2 on Friday. There's 3 scored events on Saturday, and then 2 on Sunday. I think that was kind of the feel, have a balanced test as far as how many scores are available each day. And I think with the, heavy aerobic base demand in Project 1, and then just the pure strength demand in Event 4, should have the athletes feeling pretty good going into the weekend. And then that's kind of where you see the more traditional stuff that we've done at the other tours.
All right, let's move on to day 3. It begins with Pro 5, where we're going to see an 18-minute time cap. We've got 100 wall balls, 150 weighted double unders, 50 med ball sit-ups, more weighted double unders, and we're going to end with 100 pull-ups. And that's kind of where I wanted to start. Is what's your thought process for programming the 100 pull-ups at the end of the workout?
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time. And to see what these athletes can do in big sets is always important. Just pure muscular endurance, and the demand on the shoulders in this is pretty high. Doesn't really get a break. Even on the GHDs, you're holding the medicine ball the whole time. So really it was kind of a long chipper, and to see what these guys can do when they're faced with hundreds of reps before moving on to the next movement.
As for standards, I'm assuming, but I don't want to assume, are they using the same jump rope that we've seen earlier in the year? And what's the standard with the GHD setups?
Yeah, it'll be the Velites rope that we use in Mesa. So same exact rope. Velites is going to supply all the athletes with that at check-in. So that's very nice of them. And at least they've had some exposure to that rope at the first tour. And then the GHD will be the same weighted GHD sit-up that we used in Mesa. Just another, they've been familiar with what that standard is. And I think what we noticed at Mesa with the weighted GHD was that it took away some of the gaming it as far as mechanics go, and people have been, putting their butt way far forward on the pad and shortening their range of motion and things like that, and taking some of the load off the midline. I think the weighted GHD takes that away a little bit. That's something that we're reviewing for 2026 season and the standards that we'll use there, but for the finals, it'll be the same standard that we had in Mesa.
Gotcha. All right. So over to Pro 6, We've got a handstand walk, obstacle course, and then 100-foot shuttle runs. Do the shuttle runs matter here, or is this still going to favor athletes who are good on their hands?
Yeah, it's a cool, sprint skill event. I think both matter with the caliber of athletes that we have. A lot of these athletes can run up and down those ramps like it's nothing. So I don't know that it's all about the handstand walk or all about the shuttle run. I think for the top scores, it'll be about who can kind of throw caution to the wind and just go at it up and over the ramp. Excuse me. But I do think that, the cost of one misstep is massive here. You could go from leading your heat to last place in the event with any missteps or no reps on the handstand walk. So kind of a power and precision test here, which is cool. And, it's nice to add in the obstacle. We've had, we did regular handstand walks at the first tour. We did pirouettes in Mesa, and now we're adding a little bit more complexity and demand with the shuttle run to the handstand walk with the ramp. So it'll be a fun one. It'll be really quick. And, like I said, power and precision will kind of win this race.
All right, so day 3 ends with Pro 7. This one should be a good one to end the day. We have short rope climbs, running, and then a heavy clean ladder. First off, do you have any info you can provide on the short ropes for the athletes?
Yeah, just like the old regional ones where it's maybe 3 or 4 legless pulls, and then you can clamp with your legs and touch the top of the 15-foot shackle. So athletes have been exposed to this. I think it was used at Syndicate this year at the semifinal. So the athletes that competed there, they've had exposure to it. I don't know if any other events have used it recently, but that is the one that we'll be using. We'll be on runners for this run. True Form provided those, which is cool. And then the cleans, there'll be 2 barbells. The 4-3-2 will be 1 barbell, and you'll add your weights, and then the 1-1 will be a separate barbell.
How do you think the athletes are going to handle the clean ladder? Because it seems like this one gets heavy really fast.
Yeah, I think it's knowing your strengths, and the rope climbs I think will be similar across the board. But with the run, how hard can you push the run and be able to actually cycle that barbell efficiently? And you can power clean it, squat clean it, doesn't matter. So I think it'll kind of be the managing your run pace, and then understanding that could impact how quickly you can cycle the bar, especially when the load gets heavier in the back half of the workout. And maybe we'll get some compounding effect with the rope climbs and the pull, but I think with the 300-meter run, that should be enough time to at least recover your grip to grab the bar. Now, lungs is a little bit different. Lungs and legs are a little bit different, but it should be an exciting way to end Saturday night. Some heavy lifts at the end of that workout, and I think there'll be some good races too.
Yeah, how do you think athletes are going to feel at the end of day 3 as they go into that final day?
I think they'll be pretty sore. That's 7 events.
That's the goal, right?
8 scores at this point. That's more than we've done at any of the other tours, but it's the World Championships, and you got to kind of push the envelope a little bit as far as the amount of volume that you're exposing these guys and girls to. So I think they'll be feeling it a little bit, but Sunday's a fun day, and hopefully they'll be up for the test.
All right, so let's take a look at that Sunday and the final day in Denmark. Pro 8 is a mix of calories on the Echo bike. Got single arm devil's press, single arm overhead squats, and box jump overs. This one's certainly going to hurt, especially with the dumbbells. They increase in weight each round as the reps decrease. But I don't want to assume, are athletes allowed to alternate arms on both of those movements with the dumbbell?
They'll be able to do it however they like. If they want to do all their reps on their right arm for the whole workout, that's fine. It's just get the prescribed amount of reps done within each box, and then you can move on. I kind of want to take away some of that thought process and let these guys and girls just kind of go and race on this one. And I think that it is kind of grindy, on the Echo bike devil press. I guess the overhead squat has a little bit of movement precision involved in it, but at those loads, these athletes will probably be able to move it quickly. And the higher box jump, I think, just kind of takes away from the back half of the workout. So yeah, it's a cool one. Adding in a little bit new movements, stuff that's a little bit different on a Sunday morning is fun to do. And the Echo bike is always a nice thing to throw in the mix.
All right, so this leaves us with one more workout for the World Fitness Finals Pro 9. We've got 3 rounds of ring muscle ups, thrusters, and a barbell front rack walking lunge. The athletes, I feel like, are going to spend a lot of time with the bar in the front rack position. How important is it for the athletes to control their breathing in this workout?
Yeah, very important. All of those movements, you're under compression through your midline, and they all spike your heart rate. So I think it will be cool to see what athletes come out on top on this and what different strategies are employed. If you go unbroken on the muscle ups and the thrusters, do you need to drop it before you start your lunge, or do you break the thrusters and then go straight into your lunge? It'll be cool to see how the athletes strategize on this one, but a lunge to the finish is something that we like. We did it in Tour 1, and it gave the crowd a lot of stuff to lose their minds about. So I'm hoping that we can deliver on that from that standpoint in Copenhagen.
That's where I was going next. I think lunges to the finish line always add for some really good excitement. This seems to be your forte, especially at the end. But what is it about that movement for you that makes it so great to end with?
Yeah, when you add load to a lunge, the whole world starts shaking, especially when your heart rate's at 200. And I think everybody who's competed in any form, understands that. And then you add 5,000 fans screaming at you at the finish line, and it's an exciting moment for everyone, and it's a stressful moment for the athletes. So yeah, I like it, and that's something that's been done traditionally throughout the sport, and it's such a great thing for the fans of the sport to be able to watch. So yeah, man, it made sense to finish the season with something like that and kind of put the cherry on top of what's been a really cool year.
From an athlete experience, what is that like, the lunge to the finish line in any capacity, and what's going through your mind?
Yeah, I have a couple lunge stories. I mean, my first regional, we had a front rack lunge, and it was like an axle bar chipper. And I remember it got so loud, and it wasn't because I was winning. I think I was in like sixth or something place, but Rich was setting the world record. And I'll always remember just how loud it was in the stadium while he was going up broken on the lunge and kicking everybody's butt. It was maybe him and Dan, or him and Scott going head to head for the win. So that's one. And then obviously in the Coliseum and stuff, we've had a lot of lunge finishes, which is exciting. So if I can create an event that can, do that for the current roster of athletes, and they can have those really cool memories with the fans and with their, peers, I'm going to try to do that. And I think that this one can provide that.
Yeah, that'll certainly be an exciting one, and a way to end the competition there out in Denmark. But as we take a look at the final day, how do you feel about the programming overall?
I like it. We started out the weekend with stuff that we haven't seen at all, with the swim, and then, the axle bar and the parallettes. And the next day we do Project One, which is a hybrid initiative, which we haven't really seen either this year, and a max lift. And then we get into the more traditional stuff that we've seen throughout the tours. So I think the programming's fun. We threw in a few things that were new for the athletes to kind of round out what they've been tested on throughout the season. So I'm happy about that. And then I think from a race and excitement standpoint, we nailed it. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but I feel like it will show up that way. And I think Tour 1 and Tour 2 are evidence of that as well. So yeah, we're excited. And like I said, I can't wait to watch athletes put on a show. It's the best in the world.
All right, so what's your message to the athletes as they prepare to wrap up their 2025 season, and we obviously crown our inaugural champion?
Yeah, you're getting ready for the world champs. It's been a long year. I understand everybody's competed a ton. Some people are banged up and tired, and as they should be. They busted their butt all year. So I guess just, urge them to dial in their training, listen to their body. We're about 30-ish days out from the world championships, and everybody's excited to watch them do what they got to do. And then, crowning the first WFP champion is going to be a special moment. And the culmination of all the workouts and all the travel and things like that will be nice. And then you got Christmas a couple days later, so you can relax with your family.
Yeah, it'll be a nice little Christmas gift for whoever ends up on the podium for the at the end of this weekend. So we are looking forward to another exciting weekend as the World Fitness Finals will take place from December 18th to the 21st in Copenhagen, Denmark. Up next, Katrín Davíðsdóttir and Annie Thorisdottir will give their initial thoughts on the workouts as athletes prepare for the finals. So for Director of Sport Will Moorad, I am Derek Forrest. We will see you in Denmark.
All right, we just got all the workouts. Now things are starting to feel real. We're here with Katrín. So nice to be with you and Emberly.
You too. I know we got a little guest.
Yes, a little guest is on set, and we're gonna get to just run through all the workouts. But first, what are your initial thoughts when you see these events?
It gives me like goosebumps. They look so fun. And I also love seeing like this one. There's been like, I don't know if upgrade is the right word, but we go from a 3-day competition to a 4-day competition, going into Sweden from Copenhagen, traveling back. Like it has a very like, I don't know, for me, I would get like butterflies. I get so excited to start this weekend.
I agree. Like anxiety and excitement would be the words that would come to mind for me. Just like seeing us start with a swim event, that's something that's like usually a little bit more outside of the comfort zone. And then we have some heavy lifting. We have decent amount of running in there.
Yeah, multiple workouts.
Yeah, it's quite a few workouts, but it's spread out. It's kind of nice that it's spread out over 4 days, but then it's also like physically, you're maybe then not going to be as drained, but mentally, you're going to be really drained going into Sunday. Like it always feels like adding that one extra day, it does make it mentally like a little bit more difficult.
Makes me excited though. I do love those competitions because I feel like they always give you an opportunity to continue to fight. You know, you can have a bad workout and you can kind of shake it off and just think like, okay, there's so much left. It's not over until it's over, and there's so much time to fight. Let's like dig into them one by one. I want to like talk about every workout.
All right, let's go. Starting with day 1, Thursday workouts. We have 2 swim events and then a gymnastic event.
Well, the swims back to back. Pretty obvious. I think like best swimmers are gonna win. Like
100%. Immediately I'm like, Jonna Koski must be so excited. I've always been jealous of the people that have like just like their superpower is swimming or running, because so often big events start with either a swim or run, and it must be amazing to go to the competition.
Good start.
I got this in the pocket.
It also looks like Lucy Campbell has been pretty excited online about this workout. So
absolutely, she hasn't lost a swim event so far. So I think she is definitely excited for this. But first, 500-meter swim. It looks like because the second event has 125 meters, that means it's a 25-meter pool. So I would feel a little bit like, as not a complete pro swimmer, I would feel better with a 25-meter because it gives you that like reset on the bank, gives you a glide. So if your technique or your form is starting to be off, you kind of get the like, okay, think long glides, or like give yourself like a reset quite often throughout. But of course, the really experienced swimmers are going to have a quicker, like maybe be able to do a turnaround and kick off the bank.
Yeah. I just think the biggest thing that we're going to see between the experienced swimmers and the rest of the pack is just their technique in the water.
Yeah.
It just looks like they glide through effortlessly. Like it's so amazing to watch good swimmers because it looks like they're not trying hard, but they're going much faster than those who are actually straining. And then on top of that, because it's a 2-part event and you have this 500-meter swim, and on the 12-minute mark, you start event number 2. So those good swimmers, they're also going to finish sooner, get so much more rest, and going to be even more rested to then go into the second part.
How much do you think the machines are going to matter in the second part?
I was looking at it, and for example, we're the same. We're much better on machine than on a swim, but I don't think we can utilize it as much as we'd be able to, because then you have to be able to jump in and with a high heart rate swim well. And so I think like this is very tricky. So if you're a good swimmer, you can push the machines. If you're not a good swimmer, you're going to have to hold back. And so I honestly think like it's this like double whammy for these good swimmers, because A, you're going to get more rest, and then B, you get to this part B and you can actually push the machines.
Yeah, and being able to maybe just like recover a little bit on the swim as well would make a difference. I just remember doing those swim events, especially in Dubai. They always had like a swim event with machines or something. I just remember the first time jumping up, and real hard, and then you hit the water and you're like you're so out of air that you feel like you need to breathe like every stroke or something. But being able to like relax and glide, I do think it will then be a little bit more an advantage for like just if we think about, yes, the overall best swimmers are most likely going to win, but then you have the bubble that are like similar. I think we're going to see some ridiculous times, like maybe 6 minutes for the 500-meter swim or something. And then we'll have athletes that are around the 7:30 to 8:30 even. But there's going to be a few that are like within 10 seconds of each other, I believe. Yeah. And those athletes, that's where the machines are then going to matter.
Will matter.
Even more. And that makes it, in my mind, that's a way more fun workout because there's something else that's happening with it. The same as when we have run events. I like it when it's mixed with something else just to like break it up and give you a chance somewhere else to make up ground.
Yeah, it's so true.
Pro 2, to be honest, makes me a little bit more excited. This would make me really excited if I was jumping on the competition floor. We have parallel handstand push-up, very deficit, toes to bar, and then axle bar deadlifts, which I think is a cool twist in there. Since there's only 7 reps, then it will be even grippier. What do you think, Kat?
I just think this is, I mean, your arms, shoulders, grip, they're under tension the whole time. So you're like grabbing onto the parallettes and you have a big push. And we know that for the men, it is all the way to the ground. For the women, they have a 2.5-inch riser under their head. So still, this is a significant deficit. We have them holding onto the bar on the toes to bar and then pulling a very heavy deadlift with an odd grip. And so I think those two things of like this heavy interference, it's a pull, you're constantly under tension. It's going to be, I think, less about cycle time and being fast on each movement. It's going to be about efficiency, because as soon as you get, somebody can start out fast, but I think that's going to catch up with you so fast. And so if you are smooth and efficient on each movement, you know how you're going to break up. I think you're going to break up the toes to bar. I think that'll kind of get you sailing well through that workout.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be about having like a very efficient kip on the handstand push-up.
Yeah.
Because I think most of the athletes can do 7 unbroken, but can you do 7 unbroken under fatigue? Your midline is going to be tired from the bar. And like you said, like your grip and midline is going to be a little bit tired after that deadlift. So I don't think anyone is going to struggle with either one of those movements, but it is going to be about a nice, smooth cycle time and transitions.
Yeah, and really using those hips.
Yeah. So be honest with me, Kat. Would me or you take this?
You would take this one, Annie. I think you would be fighting for a win on this one.
I will only ask on the events that I think I would take.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not even going to fight with you on that one. Annie, that lady can pull. I think everybody knows that.
I love this workout. This one would make me very excited. So far, out of the first 2 events, 3, this one would make me more excited, but I am excited to watch the other ones.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they're all so exciting.
All right, we're going to move over to Friday workouts.
I Before we talk about them in like detail, I just want to talk about the contrast of the Friday.
Yes.
Just looking at this huge workout, just this grit, grind, both mental and physical workout. And then we have the ultimate show-stopping workout, which is the 100 max snatch. But still, we're going to see completely different athletes there.
Oh, yes, I think so. I think you're right. We have what? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 800-meter run. So it's just under a 5K. That's a decent amount of run. Half of it is going to be in weight vest. And then you have some movements or like carries and sandbags, along with machines within.
I think it's such an interesting twist to have the vest for the first half, because like a vested workout is so different than a body weight workout. But I also think it's going to make it so much more fun for the athletes, because it almost gives you like this finishing point. You're not finishing the workout, but you kind of finish something and you get to take it off, which feels so nice.
Yes.
But here's also the thing. As soon as you drop the vest, you get into those 60 sandbag stepovers, which I do think is like the turning point of the workout and the grittiest, grindiest. I think that's where we're going to see who is feeling tired and maybe a little mentally beat down, and who actually is going to step knowing that this is the hardest part of the workout, which athletes are actually going to like turn it on. And I think that's where we're going to kind of see that separation.
I agree. That's going to be like where it's really easy to lose time without really knowing that you're losing time, because just moving a little bit slower, this could take you like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 minutes up to 4 minutes if you're just not on it.
Yeah.
I think it makes it a lot more fun for the athletes to break it up. Instead of just having like a 5K run, you are breaking it up. And mentally, it will make this workout. Like, I love chippers because it makes it like you're constantly changing, and it feels like you can go from one muscle group and movement to another.
Yeah.
And we're going to see most likely the best runners are going to win this event, right?
I agree.
But you still have the twist of like the athletes that are similar. It's going to break it up a lot more, staying, like you said, just like mentally really staying in it with the weights in there and the machines. It's going to move this a little bit to like bigger athletes might be a little bit more excited about this workout now.
It was literally what I said, but I was just about to say the same thing, that I was like, the best runners are going to win, but the best bigger athletes I think will win, just because it's going to favor them both with the weight vest and the sandbags and the machines and all those things. So if you're thinking about something like a Yella Hoste and a Jeffrey Adler, you're kind of like, I think I would inch more towards like a Yella Hoste on this one.
Yeah.
Even though I think they're both going to do
Adler is going to go real hard now.
Yeah.
With you saying that, it's like, oh, no.
He'll take my comment as a challenge.
Really hard. But yeah, my thought was as well, like Yellow.
And then this is also very interesting to me. And I'm very excited to see how the athletes respond from going from this workout in the morning to then the 1 rep max snatch in the afternoon. And I think this is going to favor the endurance and the fitness athletes much, much more, because they are going to have a better ability to recover from the morning. And I don't think it's going to affect their snatch as much. So they might not have the highest snatch in the competition.
Yeah.
But somebody, let's take a Danny Spiegel or a Guy Malheiros, who really, I think, are going to struggle on that first part that morning. But they normally, under normal circumstances, they excel. That's their, I don't know, that's their stage. That's their stadium when they get to go snatching in a competition. But I actually think this is going to pull, because their bodies aren't as efficient as doing those workouts and recovering from them. So I think it's actually going to affect those high output athletes. And then those kind of like, I don't know, those 3rd to 5th place athletes, I think they should be actually very excited about like, okay, I have a shot now.
I think you're right. I do think, depending on how long the break is between, I think it would be even scarier let's say that they would have 2 attempts or something, but more attempts, they will feel athletes are more likely to hit something close to their true 1 rep max.
True.
But it is a great contrast. And it's also just really nice knowing you did that super long event. You can now fuel really well and not be worried about how it's going to sit in you and try to recover for the next event. And it's not like it hurts significantly different. Like the first one hurts a lot, while the second one is more just like, whew, like scary and nervous system events.
Going back to tour stop number 2, when we had the 1 rep max clean and jerk, we were sitting together in the stands, and I don't think I've ever been, I'm not going to say ever been, but I was one of the most impressed I've ever been just with those numbers. Hi, Freya. Just with those numbers that people are hitting. Like the standard and kind of like that line of what was once normal has just, or once very high, has now become normal. And I was so impressed with, there was how many 400 pounds clean and jerks were there for a man, and how many 260 pounds were there for a woman, where that normally would win an event. Now that was like a top 3 or 4. It's insanity. So I don't know. Again, I'm not sure how much the big tripper in the morning is going to affect the snatch. Like, are we going to see that same kind of like bump in a standard as we did with the clean and jerk? I still think so. Maybe not as many, but I still think so.
I think we're going to see some incredible numbers, but I don't think the snatch, you get the same jumps as you get in the clean and jerks, though. Because snatch is such a technical lift. But I hope so. Snatch is like my favorite thing to watch.
I know. And it's also, at least in my experience, I feel like in the snatch, you can utilize adrenaline.
Yes.
For me, I love doing that in competition versus a clean and jerk. I feel like it's more just like you're going to hit your true number. And a snatch, it's more like a balance beam. You can hit it or you can very easily miss it, but you can also use that adrenaline. So if you hit a good lift with that adrenaline and you're spot on, like we all remember your face.
Just like crazy numbers.
And sometimes you can't even believe what you just hit. It's so fun.
It's so fun.
It's so fun. Okay, so we have reached almost the halfway point of the competitions. We're 2 days down, but there are still 5 workouts left, I think.
Yes, 5 workouts left.
We got 5 workouts left. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the first one, Pro 5, that is another big chipper. I honestly love these chippers because it's high rep chippers.
Those are not as scary. Like you have, if you make a mistake, you have like a chance to make up for it. And it's more test of fitness, I feel, which is why I really like that.
But looking at this one, I think it's very sneaky because it kind of looks like a wall ball, double unders, GHCs. They're all movements you can pretty easily break down in your head. But I feel like they've all been challenged. Besides, the wall balls are regular, but then we have weighted double unders, which for those who haven't been doing those, they are much harder.
Much harder.
All of these competitors for double unders, it's become almost like a break. You just kind of settle into a pace. You learn how to breathe. You relax your arms. But then when you get to those heavy double unders, you have to jump a little bit higher. You have to actually use your arms to flick the rope. And then when you start getting tired, you start tightening up. You lose your breath and your heart rate is going to spike. And so having those twice in this workout, and then the med ball,
300 reps. That's a lot of reps.
Yes, that is a lot of reps. And so
I would look at the weighted GSDs and be like, oh, finally a break.
Finally a break. Yeah. But I do think this workout is really going to come down to breaking it down in a smart way, like knowing not ever going to failure and just knowing before you start tightening up, before you start locking up in your biceps, your traps, you actually just take a premeditated break. You decide, you take a deep breath and you keep going. And I think throughout this whole workout, you need to break this down into bite-sized chunks.
Oh, 100%. Because I think looking at it in the end, it's only 100, well, 100, but I'm going to say only normal pull-ups. And we don't really do normal pull-ups anymore, right? Like you always do chest to bar pull-ups. You don't really train normal pull-ups. So it's going to feel so much easier. The rhythm and the kip is so much shorter. So you'd be like, okay, how would you break up these 100 pull-ups? And you might think like if you're fairly fresh, you would do big sets.
Yeah.
But I think towards the end of that workout, it's not, if you do too big of a set in the beginning, you'll be doing like fives towards the end, maybe, because your hip is going to be so fatigued. So, like, being really smart there is not about how big the set is, it's about how short of a time you can spend resting on the ground. So if you do sets of 10, but take a short break on the ground, you're going to be way faster than doing 20, 25, taking 30 seconds to rest in between. So like being patient and knowing that this workout is not done until you're done with the pull-ups, because I think a lot is going to happen on the pull-ups where it can move around.
I think so too, because I actually think that they're going to be a bit of a shocker, you know, because we look at them and like, again, I agree with you. They're just pull-ups because we're so used to seeing chest to bars everywhere now. But at the same time, we're coming off of all those GHDs, so your midline is taxed, and you've finished all 300 of the heavy double unders. And so I actually think your grip and your biceps are going to be blown up. So it might be a bit of a shocker. Somebody might have a plan of doing, you know, a set of 20, and they hop up and they're like, oh no, what have I done?
I think some of the most efficient double under athletes are going to do the best in this workout, because I would look at this workout and be like, weighted double unders historically are not my favorites. So I would go hard on the wall balls and smart on the dubs, hard on the GSD, smart on the dubs, and then hope to have a lot in the tank for the pull-ups, but probably not have it. All right. On to a really fun one, in my opinion, but also like one of the a little bit more scary workouts, with a handstand walk obstacle course. I'm guessing Danielle Brandon is really excited for that one.
She must be. This one is just like pure agility. If you have the skill on the handstand walk, you can see she's never scared. She just, and she flows. She's not scared to move fast. She's very athletic. Actually, when she's upright and upside down, but especially when it comes to those handstand walking events, she's not going to be afraid to run. And we can see it's going to just run into these obstacles. And most athletes do need to take that one extra breath before going into an obstacle, because it is expensive to fail. Because as soon as you've failed, normally it takes you a little bit of time because you're stumbling, but also you then need to go back and restart. Versus, I think she's not going to be afraid to run, and she's able to like kick right up and go.
Yeah, exactly. And also just like knowing if you fail, not panicking, being able to like compose yourself and know when you can go again is going to matter a lot here. This is a decent amount of obstacles, but it is something they're used to doing. Like everyone should now be used to practicing walking upstairs and down. It's funny to say walking upstairs.
I know, like upstairs, upside down. Yes. But we have the stairs into the ramp, and then we have the ramp into the stairs.
Yeah. This is like one of those the workouts that are like a little bit scary, because you might get too carried away and like go to failure a couple of times. But since it is a few rounds, you also stand a chance of making it up by just like composing yourself and focusing on literally just you during this.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of have that chance to settle in. And so if you're a little bit behind, you know, I feel like if you're good at this event, you want to know that you have a chance of winning it. And then if you're a little bit behind on that first one, you can adjust your speed on the second round or pull back if that's what you need to do.
Exactly. So there we have a gymnastics event. And then we are going over to the final event on Saturday is heavy. I would look at it as heavy cleans.
Me
But
too.
you also
Personally.
have 5 times 300-meter run. I guess the run is like maybe not the best runners are going to win it, but the run is going to matter. And then you have also rope climbs in there, like the short. So you're going to start like legless, and then you can start using your legs. So I like it because we've already had Wonder Max Snatch. I like it when the clean component or like the heavy lifts are combined with something else. So it's not just
Yes.
necessarily the strongest athlete. Most likely they're going to do the best in it.
Yeah.
But because they're not going to be hesitant and not going to have to rest before they pick up the barbell. But the other things are going to matter because we have 10 rope climbs and we have 1,500-meter run.
Yeah.
So almost a mile.
I just think, yeah,
things get really heavy towards the end.
And no, I was gonna say the prerequisite for this workout is just if you have to be able to clean. Like if you can't clean, it doesn't matter how fit you are. Like you can get as fast as you want to that last barbell, and if you can't clean it, you're not gonna finish this event. And it is like, it's not the heaviest clean, but it does end at 341, 242 pounds for the men and women. And so for some of these athletes, that's not going to be a big deal, and they can actually push this workout. But for the majority of these athletes, I think it's going to be interference with the rope climbs. Your lats are going to be tired, and when your lats are tired, you tend to start losing the barbell away from you, which is dangerous when we get to these heavier weights.
Yes.
So I agree with you for being, I think this is a strength event, but there's so much more that comes into it. And now these stronger athletes that look at these cleans and think, oh, this is nothing. Now they have to be fit and efficient.
Yeah. They need to put in some work before they can get to lift their barbell.
Yeah.
I would look at it as get as fast to that final bar as you can. So you can take a break and use the adrenaline to just get that one lift.
Yeah.
Pray. All right. Sunday, final day. This is a big day for a final day. I just look at my shoulders and I'm like, whew, you better have some fresh shoulders to finish off on Sunday.
I would be very excited to see this, especially because if we go back to what I said at the start, that I love a weekend that's big and that there's always a chance.
Exactly.
You know, if you're in a good position or if you've had some bad events, there's always time to make it up and you can continue with that. And I think this one is just a pure grinder. Like this one, it's a gut check. Like it's a gut Sunday
check,
morning.
But a lot can happen. Like honestly, if you look at the first workout with that, these are heavy dumbbells, and the overhead squat is going to be tough for some of the athletes to do, just like holding that position and doing the overhead squat properly. This can be costly for some athletes that don't get into a proper position. So that's like I would say scary event for quite a few athletes.
Oh yeah. And you look at this of like going from the echo bike, devil's press, and then squat. So you've done these two, like your legs are going to be lactic and you are going to have to go 36 inches or 30 inches for the women, 36 for the men, 30 for the women of box jumps. That is scary, especially the first ones. And then you kind of settle into it. But this is a workout that really, you just got to stay on one thing at a time. You got to focus on one thing at a time. But I do believe that those who want it, there's nothing in this that is stopping anybody, which I do love for a Sunday workout.
I agree.
You'll see who wants it here.
Oh, definitely. And then finishing off with ring muscle ups, thrusters, and front rack walking lunges. I just think about that combination of, it's so common to want to program it because it's so challenging to do together, but doing ring muscle ups and thrusters together is such a difficult combo.
Oh yeah.
It's like this shoulders and the press down, putting these together is tough. At least it's not like a crazy heavy barbell. But still,
I mean, it makes it worse though, because then you can kind of go. You can hold on, yeah. You're gonna hold on a little bit longer. But I do believe this is like the perfect closer. Like this is gonna be like a spectacle, and also just seeing. I love when final events end with a lunge. Like it's just such a great show. You can kind of see where everybody is. It gets so exciting. So many things happen on a lunge.
Absolutely.
And it's not
it's
that
at least
many
not
muscle
overhead. It's in a front rack. So I think most people should be able to push through it. It'll be really uncomfortable. But that's another, I feel like you talked about in the event before, like that's another gut check. Like, how badly do you want it to not let go of the bar? Because you're going to want to let go of the bar real bad. But you can do 9 steps, you know?
Yes. And also just knowing with the muscle ups coming up again, you're going to be like, oh, my shoulders are on fire.
Yeah.
And so just knowing like, nope, we'll use the hips on the rings, and get yourself up there high. So I think that'll be, I mean, it's not only the final event of the competition, it's the final event of this season. Like so much is at stake here. And so I think this is going to be so exciting and so fun to watch, and probably so nervous for all of the athletes to do this work.
Oh my God, I feel it in my stomach just like talking about this event now. Just like the feeling you had before the final event and having this as the final event. It's like, just don't throw up, deep breaths, try to calm yourself. Know the nerves are there for a reason. Use the adrenaline. Think about being relaxed and focus on the ring muscle ups. I think that having a very efficient ring muscle up is going to matter here. Having like using your hips and having a good kip on the dip on the ring 100%. Muscle up is going to matter. But yeah, that's
the other thing that we haven't talked about even through this all, but I'm just like really thinking about it right now, is the accumulation of all the weekend at this point. Like these athletes are going to be so sore. They've already done so much pulling. They've already done so much pressing. They've already done so much leg work. Like even just talk about in the workout before.
Just the workout before.
So you're kind of coming in, but also just knowing everybody's done that work. Everybody is this sore. And then you're like, now we compete.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Trusting everyone are going to be feeling in.
Yeah.
And it is just, like you said, having that knowledge you still stand a chance no matter where you are. Things can change.
Things can change. And there is so much at stake. Like it is not just this competition. It is really, you're earning your pro card for next year. You're earning your contract. You're earning your spot on the tour next year again. And so I don't know, for some of that might be so motivating, and for some that might just like add so much more extra pressure. But I hope that they can actually utilize that on this and use this.
I would think very motivating for most athletes, pressure for the bubble athletes, for the ones around the 20th spot at that point. That's going to be stressful.
I know, but I do. It's one of my favorite things as a competitor. And honestly, also now that we're in this position, but it is observing people's demeanor, or athletes, competitors, observing the competitor's demeanor in competition.
Yeah.
Because you can almost see before an event how they're going to attack it and what their mindset is. And I love witnessing that. And I love competing against that, to be honest, too.
Yeah, that's why it's fun to see the athletes like right before starting. Is like, how are they doing, or how they are in the tunnels before.
Yes.
If you would have footage of that, showing some of that stuff.
It'd be fun to see, like when you're in the warm-up area.
Yeah. Who's talking to whom and who's being super quiet and
who's pretending like they're totally fine.
Exactly. Don't want to show anything.
So fun. I just can't believe like this is the final one. feel like it's gone by so fast. We were just in Indianapolis for Tour Stop 1, and now we're finishing out the finale in Copenhagen. And let's also discuss that. So both me and Annie, we have competed regionals back in the day, was always in Copenhagen. And Europe has exceptional fans. They're very loud and vibrant and engaging, and it is one of my favorite venues that I have competed at is in Copenhagen. And so I'm so excited for it to be there, and also for finally like this event to be in Europe, and for Europe to actually get to come and see and witness these athletes in action, because they haven't gotten as many shots at it as the States do. Majority of the competitions are always in the States, and this is their opportunity to get to come see their favorite athletes in action, to see this spectacle of an event go on. And also right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas. I'm excited for the European audience to get to see these athletes compete, but I'm also really excited for the athletes to get to experience the European crowd.
Yes.
I appreciate all of you watching and cheering, but it is fun to get to experience just different things. And this
just kind of like different cultures, and
this would be fun.
Just bringing it out globally. I think that's it for us. Next time we'll be talking about these events. We'll be at the competition. Watching the athletes doing this, and we'll be discussing the actual results. So we'll see you with Derek and Seth in Copenhagen.